So you want to be an actor in film, theater? Well, let's talk about it.
Lights, camera, action. Take one. And now
I'm here today in the wonderful city of Centerville at the Town Hall Theater with Mr. Alan Bomar Jones. Many of you may know him from various roles he's played in films, and it's also theater for all of your theater viewers or patrons out there. Alan, thank you, sir, for giving us an opportunity to come out and see your new office.
Yeah, you're right. It's a new office. Like I was telling you earlier, about 90 days I've been here now. I'm the producing artistic director, which kind of has a double meaning because I do make artistic decisions here with my staff about what we present, but at the same time, I help produce what is being presented, which means I could help as far as marketing. I help on the technical aspect of it. I watch what the work that the directors do and give them my opinion, and it's great, man. I'm living the dream, which is why I'm on this.
Okay. How did you get started in the field of theater?
Roosevelt High School, 1973. You know, I'm a junior in high school, not really a sports person, and don't want to go home, and I would just be wandering in the halls until they kicked us out of the school. And I'll never forget one day, and I can't pin it down, but one day this guy came out of the auditorium, and I was walking down the hall. He said, "You, come here." And so I walked up to him. He said, "Go in there and sit down. I'll be right back." And he went around and started grabbing up a bunch of young people and bringing us in there because he had written a Christmas play, but nobody came to the auditions. So he handed me a script. He said, "You read the oldest son." So I started reading. He said, "Good, you can read." He gave it to another person. So by that time he had half the cast. He said, "You guys are going to be in my play." He said, "We rehearse after school. Can you stay after school?" He said, "Obviously, because you're here now." So I said, "Yeah." So we rehearsed, we put it on stage, and I'll tell you now, man, the moment I stood in line with all the other cast members and we took a bow in front of the entire school, because back then when you did stuff, they brought the entire school to see it, and after I did that and took a bow, I was hooked. I thought, wow, this is very cool. I really like this. And I think, and now that I ponder on it, I think it was maybe that was something I needed as far as acceptance, and I felt very accepted by the whole school then. I was a nerd. I'm really smart, read comic books. So I didn't have a lot of friends in high school. And after I did this, people, we're talking jocks even, people stopped me in the hall and go, "Man, you were good in that show," and everything, and gave me all this attention. And so I left there, went to the military, and after that, I went to Sinclair Community College, and I've been chasing the dream ever since.
Okay. Now, your first time on stage, what about the butterflies? Because, a lot of times people, especially the nerds, they have to get in front of all those people.
Right.
And now you have to transport yourself out of yourself into someone else. How was that?
That's a good question. I think I got rid of the butterflies of performing when I was little. My mother used to, when we would go to church and they would usually have dinner after church, she would bring the record player and it'd be a Jackie Wilson record. Oh. And I was in a suit. She would play the Jackie Wilson record and I would lip sync it for the the congregation. And they would, so this and that and everything. So after doing that for a while, I never got nervous about performing. So interesting enough, when I made it to high school and did that, I wasn't nervous at all. I felt very comfortable, And I've always had this booming voice, and that's one thing he liked. So he made sure he gave me the character that had a lot of lines because he knew that they could hear me. And so I never got nervous, never. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, one of the things that Alan does also, and that is you, besides being theater, director, producer, and playwright,
Right.
and actor.
Yeah.
You also wear another hat, and that is hat as a mentor and instructor. Yes.
I teach private lessons for young people who are interested in pursuing this. And at the same time, when I'm not on the stage, I teach. Right now I'm a sub. I taught for 25 years.
Okay.
And so when I'm not doing that, now I'm subbing because I sort of retired from teaching, you could say. But subbing brought me back into it. So yeah, that's my teaching part. And I teach gym, I teach drama, I teach English sometimes. I'll teach any subject that, I'm called upon. But that is sort of my other side of my life as a teacher. Yeah.
Now, as far as being a mentor, now you're a mentor, we had mentioned mentoring, as far as with some other actors, as far as from the area as well.
Yes. I think right now it's about 2 or 3 people that I mentor. They're young people who are doing theater right now.
Okay.
And now that they found out that I'm doing movies, they want to venture into that. I have another young man now who, when I say young man, he's in his 30s, but to me, he's a young man. Okay. He's starting into it, and he's really coming to me to mentoring him into getting into film and doing some television work, and that's great, and I'm really trying to help him out. But the one thing that I really look into when I'm mentoring someone, because every 5 minutes somebody can call and say, mentor me, is how serious are you with it, what you want to do. Secondly, are you taking my advice? Because you could spin your wheels trying to mentor someone that's just not doing what's necessary. And at that point, then I would just say, I no longer can help you because I don't think that, you're serious enough. And those are the 2 key things that I really am concerned with. Is this something you really want to do? Do you take my advice? Because obviously if it works for me, it's going to work for you, Okay. And I just don't have the time to spend on mentoring someone who doesn't really want to do this. Yeah.
So you probably run into quite a number of people who probably say, I want to act. I feel that I was born to be an actor.
Right.
My next movie, I'm going to be in the movies right now. What do you tell those people?
That's a good one, yeah. Oh, I think I want to act. That's what I tell people who tell me that is, I said, you can, because anyone really can act, but start auditioning, get on the stage, start putting yourself in positions to where you have to do the craft. Yes, you can go to college. I certainly would suggest that. I went to Sinclair Community College. I have an associate's degree in drama. I certainly would suggest that. But on the other hand, when there's someone who, let's say, works for a living, and then they can't go to school and work and try to do shows, I say, get to community theater, audition for community theater, and work. The best teacher of this particular business is doing. You can't learn acting by sitting and reading. You can't learn acting by listening to someone. You got to get out there and get on stage and put yourself in those situations. And that's generally what I say is, okay, find a community theater in your area and start auditioning. Then come back and see me.
All right.
Yeah.
Because that is one of those things that you just mentioned, and that kind of takes me back to what I heard someone said before, and that is nobody can do those push-ups for you.
That's right.
You have to do those yourself.
You're right. You have to do the push-ups yourself. Sure, I could sit there and do them for you, and then you'd lay down and say thank you, but then what have you gotten out of it? Nothing. Nothing at all. Yeah.
Now, I've observed your movies. I'm a big fan too.
Good.
But when I look at your performances, you look so relaxed. How do you overcome the discomfort? Because you're playing someone that's totally often against your character right here. How do you overcome that discomfort?
Well, that's a good question because let me make it very clear. Acting on stage and theater and acting in film and TV are 2 different styles. They're still acting, don't get me wrong, but they're 2 different styles. For instance, when you're doing theater, you have to imagine a person that's sitting in the last row in the back seat. they've got to be able to not only see what you're doing, but hear what you're doing. So you're projecting your voice, you're maybe being a little more animated than necessary, and that's good. But then when you get to the camera, and this is my first experience, I'll never forget, I was doing it was like a little independent film for a college student at Wright State. And I'm acting like I'm on stage, you know. I'm big, I'm moving all the place, and he stopped and said, hang on. He said, first of all, your world is about right here, okay? He said, that's the camera, that's as far as you can go. He said, so you need to stop all the moving. He said, you need to really just relax and focus and just be yourself. Don't try to give me a character, be the character. Now, you have to be the character on stage, but in front of the camera, it captures everything, your eyes, your expression, the sensations that come from you emotionally. So you have to tone it all down. And I kept doing take after take, and he said, okay, give me less. Okay, too much, just give me less. Okay. And eventually, just like I told people about theater, if you keep doing it, if you keep finding projects, you keep working with different directors, you'll understand what it takes to do film and TV. And it's really different than what you do on theater. And to go back to your question, because I had so many years, and I mean, we're talking years since I was in high school, of theater, that I was never nervous in front of people to perform. So when I just have a camera sitting in front of me and a director and a guy with a boom mic, that's an even smaller audience. It allows you even more time to relax. So, you know, it's just, and another thing that helps you relax is knowing your stuff. You got to know your lines, you got to know your intentions, you got to know your character. When you have all that, then you end up getting relaxed performance. But if you're sitting there and you're trying to remember your next line, and believe me, the camera doesn't lie. They see it in your eyes that you're thinking, not acting. You're thinking about your next line. And so all of that, having all of that together makes it real easy to relax.
Now, how much time do you spend as far as reading? Now, in between auditions, what helps you prepare?
Well, it depends. If I have a project, then yeah, I'm going to read that script, and I'm going to study that script, and I'm going to really I do more writing than anything, and that's writing down ideas that I get from the script, ideas of what I want to do with my character. And if I'm not performing, like right now, I'm artistic director of the theater. I end up reading a lot of plays because I have to make decisions, on what the staff is going to read in the next 6 months so we can decide on our next season. So I'm doing a lot of reading that way, which is great because now it gets me more familiar with shows I was never familiar with. So it's increasing my knowledge of theater and performance plays. But for the most part, when it comes to reading scripts and studying, I do that on demand. If there's something that comes up, if I audition for something and they say, okay, we want you to do it, then I'll start studying and reading then. Other than that, as an administrator here, I'm reading plays, I'm reading bios, things like that, yeah.
Okay. So would that be something you would advise someone who's looking to pursue this craft?
Yeah, particularly if you're pursuing theater. You got to know a lot of plays. There's nothing worse than to go into an audition for a play you know nothing about, and don't fool yourself. It is not unusual for the director to say, so what do you think of the play? And you can try to BS your way around it, but and then the questions become even more interesting. So what character are you interested in? What do you think about the character? Yeah, that's very possible, particularly when you get to the callback. And let me explain that. Okay. You have the audition. And there may be 40, 50 people auditioning for the play and maybe half of them for your part. The director says, okay, I'm narrowing it down to these 5 people for that part, these 5 people. Then you come to what's called a callback. That's when you get the chance to handle the script and look at the lines. And you read it opposite of another actor. Then the director decides that he's going to pick a few people that he's going to interview and talk to just to make sure that they're getting, the right person. And that's when they may ask you a lot of questions about the piece that they're doing or about your work and how it relates to what you're doing or why you want to do the part. So don't shoot yourself in the foot. Be familiar with the material. And I know sometimes when there's movies and TV shows, you can't get those scripts. But then go watch the director's work. What did Francis Ford Coppola do last year or 2 years ago? look at his work. You can see the style that he has. Or watch the TV show that you're auditioning for. I got a call to audition for Chicago PD. Well, that was maybe a week or so ago. I've watched 4 episodes of Chicago PD since then. I want to know what their style is like, so that I can deliver an audition that's worthwhile if I get a call back, So, yeah, you got some really great. He's got some good questions, y'all.
Well, I was just, if I can just kind of add on to that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I enjoyed far as from the medium of DVDs is they used to always have that behind the scenes, the making of. So you would actually see far as the processes that were being undertook, far as in order to create that magic on screen right there. So if you go to the library, they still have DVDs.
They still do.
So check those out.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the obstacles you faced during your course of your career.
Yeah. Well, my first obstacle occurred in college, and I really need to explain this because I don't want it to be misunderstood. I went to college in the 70s, and in the 70s, we're coming post 60s, fighting for freedom, people, being hippies and loose, and then we reached the 70s, and America's trying to get their act together. But at the same time, we're trying to be a country that's attempting to reach out to offer opportunities. So I go to college. I'm a drama student. I'm in drama, and plays are coming up. And of course, I don't know the way of the world right now. I came from the military right into drama. When we had auditions, of course, I wanted one of the bigger parts. What makes sense to me. And I found that I was either getting small parts or ensemble. At first, I took that as a slap in the face racially. I thought, oh, they just don't want a black man to do this part or whatever. And then I'll never forget, there was one show that came out, and I really wanted to be the producer. Now, let's face it, I'm 24, 25 years old. I didn't have the chops to be an upper-class producer in a musical. But I thought I could. And they gave me the gay hairdresser. Well, at first I got offended. I'm like, what? And who walks down the hall but my department chair? And he hears me moaning. He goes, Alan, what are you doing? That's a good part. He has a solo. He spends more time with the lead actress than anybody else. You're going to get a lot of stage time. He gave you that part because he thought you were a good actor. He said if he would have given that part to someone who's gay, who knows how far he would have gone with it. But you're not, and you're going to give it the exact amount that they wanted. And, then I learned that it's not necessarily the part, it is what you can bring to the entire piece. And so after that, I tried not to ever feel like any rejection I got was racially motivated. It's just that I needed to continue to grow as an actor. The one thing that helped me the most, Gregory, is my voice. They hear my voice and they're like, ooh, I hope he can sing. Or, ooh, we should give him this part. And I continued to develop that. I started going to forensics tournaments, and then I would win awards. And that forced me to better my language, to work on my voice, so that was something that nobody could take from me, no matter who they were. And it helped me in a lot of ways. And a couple other obstacles I ran into was when I started doing community theater outside of college. There was a lot of jealousy that went on there with individuals who thought I was hot stuff because I had a degree. Well, it wasn't necessarily that, more than I know what I'm talking about. I'm not sure you know what you're talking about, so let me enlighten you a little bit. And people can be offended by that. So I ran into that obstacle, the trained actor versus the untrained actor. Any other obstacles? Well, yeah, I found it very limiting for me in the Dayton area to work. I was a resident artist with the Human Race. I've been with them for, I'm approaching 30 years, I would believe. And at first, there were a lot of parts I wanted that I couldn't have, that they gave to someone else. And I felt like I deserved this or deserved that. And then one day, Kevin Moore said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, Alan, you're a talented young man. You need to venture out and experience other theaters. We'll always be here. You'll always be one of our resident artists. We'll always use you. And that kind of set me straight. And I was like, okay. And as soon as I branched out, Gregory, all the opportunities were out there. I just had to find them. Another thing that I learned very early, and I'm very fortunate, is that go for what fits you. Yeah, you think you're an actor, you can do any and everything. That's good and that's true. But you will get cast in more parts when you go after what fits you. When you go after how people see you. When you do that, and it's particularly big in film and TV, you'll work nonstop. But for the most part, I avoided getting myself in situations where I was rejected due to my attitude, my personality, my color, or any of that. And I know it sounds fake, but for the most part, I've had a pretty successful career because of those things.
Tell us about, as far as your plans for the theater.
Oh, thank you. Well, Town Hall Theater is a theater that I actually got my training in as a director for children's theater.
Oh, so this is kind of like a full circle.
It's a full, yeah.
Okay.
I started out because I was a union actor. I really couldn't act on their stage, but every now and then they would offer me an independent artist contract, and I did Zorro. I think I did a tour for them called The K, and so I was able to do bits and pieces. But then the director, at the time, the artistic director, asked me if I was interested in directing, and I said sure, and I started directing children's theater. And it was very successful here. I've worked with a lot of kids. Matter of fact, one of the people I just hired is someone I directed as a young man. So I started getting my chops here at Town Hall Theater directing plays. And eventually, just like I had to do with acting, I moved on and started directing for other individuals in other places. But Mark never forgot how good of a director I was and how much I demand from young people. I never approached a project with kids, Gregory, saying, oh, it's just a kids show. They're just kids. No. They are not going to grow. They're not going to learn. They're not going to get better. You have to treat them as if they're doing it to move on to something else. So I always demand the best acting from the kids. I always gave them challenges. And I am very proud to say that the majority of my plays that audiences saw, I always got the compliment of how good the acting was, because I just didn't accept that. I gave the kids a challenge, and kids would step up to the challenge. And as a result, they would come to my auditions because they knew that when I was directing them, that I was going to treat them like a professional, I would work them like they were serious, and they would do a good performance. Yeah. So yeah, it all started here with my children's theater. And I never forget 90 days, well actually it was in the summer when Mark contacted me and said, I wonder if you'd be interested in being artistic director. And I was like, what? And so we sat down at Bob Evans and had breakfast and talked about it. And I was honest. I said, well, you do realize that you're asking a black man to be an artistic director in Centerville, Ohio at a children's theater. And he said, so what's that got to do with anything? Sorry. And when you're surrounded by people that treat you as a human being, as an American, and not as a racial person, the sky's the limit, you know. So for him to put me in this position says volumes about how he felt about me. Yeah. I so bad want to say cut. But no, I think the viewers need to see that regardless of what one director told me, that I will never work for him again, men do cry, and that's okay. We are emotional individuals too. It just takes us a long time to let go.
Well, you're passionate about what you do.
I am.
And that's passionate. Sincerity right there.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to give us a tour.
Yes.
Tour.
Yes, going to give you a tour. Yes.
Okay.
So does that mean we're going to stop and go do the tour? How did you want to do this?
Well, let's do a little bit of the tour,
Okay.
then we'll come back.
Okay.
And we'll pick this back up again.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. 'cause
That's okay.
I appreciate Alan taking the time, because he is a busy man.
Yeah.
And taking the time out for us to do this interview, I greatly appreciate it right here. And not only that, but I think our viewers will get a lot for us from this right here, because this is where we learn.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's important to know that you can live your dreams. The only thing that's stopping you is here. If you allow them to stop you, anyway, and I'm saying them because I don't want to label anybody, but if you allow them, whether it's people, whether it's a culture, whether it's a business, to stop you, then you have no one to blame. But if you just take that obstacle and just step over it and go on to the next, eventually you're going to climb those steps and you'll be at the top of whatever you want, you know. And I want to take this moment to mention, because if we come back I may forget, there's several movies that you can see my work in. Can I mention that?
Oh, yes, go ahead,
okay.
by all means.
The latest one, which came out in 2019, is Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, with Zac Efron. I play the Utah judge. It's the story of Ted Bundy, and it's not a vicious slasher film kind of a movie. I think you'll like the direction that it comes from. Then there's White Boy Rick, based on an actual individual who was arrested by the FBI for drug dealing, and he was 19, and he got life in prison. I play a crooked cop in it. I'm not in very many scenes, but it's a very important character. Then there's Criminal Activities that came out in 2014 with John Travolta. I play an FBI agent in that. And then another 2019 movie is called Native Son, and I play a detective in that. So it appears that they find me. Did I say that I play a judge in Extremely Wicked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
did.
They cast me as judges, detectives, and cops. So I must have that authoritative look. But check them out.
Take one. And now your host.
Welcome back. Thank you, Alan Fars, for the tour.
No problem.
And it's an amazing place. I'm looking forward to coming out and catching a play or
good.
spreading the word.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. That'd be good.
Okay. Now, as far as with the plays, are they open to the public? Tell us
Yes.
about it.
They're open to the public. You call our box office 937-433-8957, and you can not only get a list of what we've got going, but you can order tickets that way.
So, tell us about the theater.
Okay.
It's a family-oriented.
Yes, family-oriented theater. We try to do some of the off-Broadway, Broadway kind of titles, like we did Frozen. And the thing I love about it is that if you remember years ago when we were growing up, the theater was for kids was done by adults. Well, now we've got theater performed by kids for kids, and that's always a great thing. And you know, it's a great recruiting tool. You'd be amazed at how many kids have come to see shows here that are now on stage.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, our next Academy Award winner.
Yeah, Town Hall Theater right here on 27 North Main Street in Centerville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an awesome day
Well, thank you.
for us. And thank you for taking the time and sharing with us all this knowledge.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's been great. It's always wonderful to share what I consider from my life a success story. And I want to encourage anybody out there that if you want to get involved in acting, if you're interested in seeing what the business is about, you know, feel free to contact me, email me at alanbomarjones@gmail.com, and he's probably going to put it on the screen so you can see that, alanbomarjones@gmail.com, and I'd be glad to point you in the right direction.
Okay. And what we always like to say at the end, first of all, thank you. Thank you and everyone else out there. And the difference between those who dream and those who actually take action is having a goal, having a plan, and commitment. You have to be committed to whatever it is that you want to pursue. And remember this, that when you're writing the story of your life, be sure you're holding the pen. Until the next time, live your dream, and we want to hear your story.